I just hit the record button, so
Okay.
everybody should have just been
Perfect.
notified that you are being recorded. So don't say anything you wouldn't want on the record.
Thank you.
So we'll
Sorry,
go ahead and
Blair, didn't
dive
mean
in
it.
then. Yeah. And then if Wendy is able to join, we can catch her up or provide this video afterwards, whatever makes the most sense there. So I'm not going to PowerPoint you to death, I promise you that, but I do want to start by setting a high-level agenda, and I see Wendy has joined on, so that's perfect. Hello, Wendy. This is Jonathan with LBMC. So just for the time today, I wanted to do a high-level overview of Dynamics 365. We're going to focus really the attention on Business Central today as far as the live demo, and that's where we'll be spending the majority of the time. We want to make sure that this is valuable for you all, so similar to the Field Point demo or Diskimo, if you will, that we did last week, where it's interactive. You guys are asking questions, talking about features and functionality and how that makes sense for media. We want that same type of dialogue here today. So please chime in with thoughts, questions, comments as we go through this. So Anne, you've met before, and so she's on the line, but we also have Devang, who is one of the Business Central consultants, and he'll be doing the live demo when we get to that portion. So I just wanted to introduce him to you all. Mary Beth, I know that I've spoken to you. Wendy, I'm struggling to remember if you've been on any of the calls that we've had so far.
No, I have not. I don't believe so.
Okay, well, it's a pleasure. Just curious what your role is at Immedia so we can have an understanding of the audience here.
Sure, I am the procurement manager here.
Fantastic. And then Mary Beth, you are controller, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. So that's your audience, Devang, and obviously anybody else that ends up watching this recording. So we'll go ahead and cruise through the overview portion of this. So again, my idea was to give sort of a higher level view of all of these different applications that we're going to be talking about and considering. So we have this idea of intelligent business applications in the cloud. So sort of at the center of this infinity loop, or the heart of it, if you will, is Business Central, which is the ERP component, right? So the full suite of ERP functionality that you would expect out of any package. We looked at Field Point, so that part of the puzzle here would be focused on your projects, job costing, your field service, all of the operational components that you all got to see a week or so ago. But additional applications out here so these three on the right side are part of what Microsoft calls customer engagement. So that's the CRM components, right, that natively plug into Business Central so that you can have more functionality for pipeline management and opportunity management, additional just deeper sales automation functionality, customer service functionality, and marketing, right? So that's just additional components that could be plugged into your ERP package. And then all of this stuff works with Office 365, and I've got a mini demo scene around a component of this that I'll get into here in just a second. But Microsoft has done a lot to increase productivity by utilizing Outlook and Excel and Word and some of these core Office apps that everybody works and lives in on a daily basis, and then natively interfacing that with the ERP and CRM systems so that they communicate really nicely together. And then being able to plug in something like a Power BI solution so that you have the deep data visualization and analytics component that you can surface the data in your systems in a dashboard and reporting manner. And then these other two components here, so Power Apps is just the ability to build your own custom line of business applications. So that's how you can extend the functionality that may not just exist in an application already, or that could be built, and this is intended to be a citizen developer type of a tool where you don't have to be a software developer to build these kind of applications. And then Microsoft is investing tremendous amount of dollars into artificial intelligence and machine learning, and they're bringing that stuff into the market and plugging this directly into these applications, and some of it's free, some of it's additional licenses. But just being able to have, harness the power of all this AI technology that Microsoft is investing in, and again, just utilizing it with your core business applications, and that exists today. And I've got a few examples of that coming up in just a moment. So the Outlook integration that I wanted to walk through here, and I'm zooming through this stuff to make sure we have plenty of time for the live demo. So stop me if you have questions. But again, this is all about the productivity enhancement that Microsoft has been investing heavily in. So in this little mini scene, I'm going to demonstrate being an AP clerk or somebody in an AP receiving a vendor invoice. I'm going to take action on that invoice by actually creating it in the ERP system and posting it. But I'm going to do all that from directly within Outlook. So this is just the Outlook, interface that everybody should be accustomed with, right? This is an email from this vendor, Worldwide Import. So what I can do is what gets added to my ribbon is this Business Central section. So clicking Contact Insights will actually surface data from Business Central related to this vendor directly within Outlook. So it recognizes the email address, which we have tracked in the Business Central system. So that's what's being recognized. And it's pulling it back, these statistics, so I can see, vendor balance, any of these blue icons I could click into and dig deeper into those specific data points. But I can just get a quick overview of, the relationship that we have with this particular vendor. But I can also take action, right? So by clicking new, I can create new documents. So I can create a new purchase invoice directly here. And by clicking that icon to create this, what's happening with this plugin or this app, if you will, it's actually scraping the email body to pull back information. So it's trying to recommend line items that may be applicable to this purchase invoice. So you see it recognized the Amsterdam lamp and the Sydney swivel chair, but it also picked up this Atlanta whiteboard, and that's because you see the address of the vendor. They're from Atlanta, and that matches an item that we have in inventory. So it said, hey, is this one of the things that they're trying to bill you for? And I can, say yes, no, or just completely, cancel this and enter in the items that I want to have on this, or just accept it, right, with the OK. And so it'll automatically populate all that data for me because it recognized the vendor's information. So that got populated. The items were automatically suggested to me. So, that's all correctly filled in. I can take some additional look and, the other information on this particular purchase invoice, make sure that the payment terms and everything else is correct. And then essentially just go to post it by clicking the ellipsis here. And, you see that there's other things that can be done. So if there's an approval process before this purchase invoice can be entered, right, I can send that off for the approval. And then the folks in that chain will get those emails to allow it to pass or not. Or I can just simply click post, right? And then
I'm sorry, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So with this, do we have the option to customize things with Business Central so that if the AP clerk gets the invoice and it has tracking information on that, can we get that to show in, say, like the purchase order and create an invoice in AP for that? So that one, like our project manager, see the tracking information there, and then also it's entered into AP? Or is it strictly just an AP function to get it into Business Central?
It could be both. And if you noticed when I was on the create new tab, purchase order was an option. I think even purchase quote was an option. So it really just kind of matters at what point in the process, you all are going to have this function this way, right? And that's going to be part of the project that we go through with you on designing this process and implementing it for what makes sense for you all. This is just an example here. Does that help answer the question?
Yes, sorry, I was muted, sorry.
No, I saw the head nod, and that's plenty fine. So again, this would work on the sales side as well. If you just wanted to look at just sort of analytics on customers and vendors, you could just do that here. This is a very nice tool to have, and this is just part of the solution. You just get this when you have Office 365 and Dynamics 365, so there's no additional cost for that. Any thoughts or questions on this little mini scene around the Outlook integration? Seems pretty useful, I hope.
Yeah, I didn't see if there was a spot there. So if you're issuing a purchase order to a supplier, are you able to put in multiple delivery dates? Like if you're ordering 20 and 10 are due on October 1st and 10 are due on November 1st? Does it have that capability?
I'll say yes, but if Ann or Devang want
Yeah.
to
You know what? If
elaborate.
Yeah, I don't know if that was Wendy. If you can just hold that question, I'm going to go through procure to pay, and I'm going to pull up a purchase order, and I'll show you how many dates we have and how we can make that work.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure.
That's all. Any other questions or thoughts? Cool. Okay. So that wraps up this little mini scene. The other thing that I wanted to highlight, because it's not as easy to show in a live demo, is the AI tools that are available today. So these are 5 that are in market, and these are free. So you don't have to pay extra money to get these extensions. You just go and deploy them. They were developed by Microsoft. So there's these 5, and I'm going to highlight the image analyzer, and I believe it's the cash flow forecast in these next couple of slides. So you can attach images to your items in Business Central, and then you can have additional attributes associated with these items. So with this image analyzer extension, you could upload this picture of an item, of a new item that you're creating, and the AI system will actually look at that image and determine some attributes and suggest them to you, right? So it sees that this is a table and it's suggesting that it's an indoor piece of furniture. These are just additional attributes that we would tag this item by. So it helps you build out the item card a little bit faster, but also have some nice visualizations of what your items are. And then for the cash flow forecast extension, so this is essentially a way for the system to analyze all the open transactions that you have going on and predict what your next the 90-day forecast of cash flow is going to be, based off of all the different things that are within Business Central related to payables and receivables and open orders, all of these different components. And the nice thing with these extensions, or these models, if you will, is they can be trained with a feedback loop with the machine learning system, so that you could essentially continue to refine this and make it more closely aligned with your business process or your actual maybe seasonalities. If there's certain times of the year where you have more business and less business, right, it can start to account for those things and become more accurate with this forecast.
So I have a real quick question. So on this, like I have just a lot of just ACH payments that come out for like insurances and that kind of thing that are distribution for the owners. And I don't really put them in until they actually clear the bank. So is there a way of like having something put in, or this is only going to pull from what's actually already in Dynamics? So if I'm not having anything hit the bank yet, it's not going to show that, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. That's all I had to talk about here on the artificial intelligence component, unless there's any other questions.
No, I think I'm good.
Perfect. Well, without further ado, we'll do the live demo. So quick high-level agenda for that. We're going to just do some general system navigation overview to start, talk about the chart of accounts and how Business Central uses dimensions to segment your data. And then Devang's going to go through a couple of those process cycles from procure to pay to order to cash, and we'll look at some financial reporting as well. So with all that said, Devang, you are up, sir.
Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for allowing us in your living room or your office or wherever we are right now, right? Let me share out my screen. And let's make sure I get the right screen here, because God knows I've done this wrong. Okay, there it is. I read a little bit about the organization. What I thought was great is about 20 years ago or 30 years ago when I was in college, I worked for the audiovisual department, and I used to take screens and overhead projectors to all the classrooms. I can't imagine what you guys do now and how advanced the technology is. I can only imagine, I guess.
Sits on the network now compared to what it used to be now.
I
Now
just
it
remember this
on the
one.
network.
Right. Awesome. So can you guys see my screen? You should see Business Central. Fantastic. Okay. So this is part of your, as Jonathan was telling you before, this is part of the Microsoft ecosystem. What's beautiful about that is Microsoft has invested a lot of time and money in this ERP, and it integrates fully with all your Office applications. And I'm going to show you how to do that with Excel. And as accountants, at least I think 2 of you are, you're going to love that functionality, right? So I'm in my test company up here that says 1012 test. The way you get into this is a fully web-based SaaS product What that basically means is all I need is a URL, right, in my browser. I'm in Google Chrome because I like Google Chrome, but it does work with a lot of different browsers. I have a lot of executives, customers who actually just use a tablet in the living room and just go to the dashboard. They'll log in and just look at the dashboard because they like these KPIs, right? So there's a lot of different ways you can do this, a lot of different interfaces. I have this on my phone as well. So different platforms, different ways you can get to the system, and everything is authenticated through your user credentials. So not everyone can get into everything, and you have user security based on your username and password. And like I said, it's part of the Office 365 suite, and that's how you get it. What you're looking at right now is the typical interface. It always has the company name here. You're in my 1012 test company, which I made a couple of days ago. And I'm going to walk you through some of the actual interface in the dashboard, because I think what Microsoft's done compared to the other ERPs is just phenomenal. It just makes it so much easy. And just as a background, I've been doing Business Central now for 20 years, so I'm very passionate about this. So I'm just going to tell you how great the product is. So I hope you don't mind. Anyway, going back to this. So I'm going to walk you through the dashboard and all the different things that you can do and how easy it is to navigate. But first, I'm going to start here in the gears. If you see the gears up here, I have all these different options, right? And one of the options I have under my settings is this entire concept of role. So one of the things Microsoft Business Central allows you to do is something called user personalization. And what that really means is you can personalize your dashboard really the way you want, because we want to make it less clicks. We want you to be more productive, right? So right now I'm set up as a business manager. However, if I click on the little 3 dots over there, I can be, I'm just going to go down. I can be a shipping clerk. I can be a warehouse manager. I can be a purchasing, right? So based upon my role center, whatever I select is what the screen is going to be. So there's 2 dependencies. There's security is independent of dashboard. So keeping that in mind is all of you users, and I don't know how many you have, you can set them a role center, and based upon that role center is what their dashboard is going to look like. Now, as a business manager or as an accountant, this is exactly what my dashboard looks like, and I'm going to walk you through that. But again, very easy, very simple to use, and you can do that. The other part of this also in my settings is different companies. Now I'm in this company, but if you have multiple companies in your organization, you can set them up as easy to do. I'm gonna hit cancel. Okay, I want to kind of walk you through the dashboard. I'm in my test environment right now. I have up here all the different entry points because this is what I wanted to see, and I've actually customized this a little bit, so I can easily go to my customers, my vendors, my items, all my what I call my master records, and then I also have my trial balance here that I can go to. These insights, what's really nice is each insight gives me just a high level view of what's going on in my company, right? Best selling item, and Jonathan spoke about artificial intelligence. This is what it really does. It just skims all of this information, throws it up here in an insight for you. And we can customize some of this stuff. So we can, as your partner, we can give you some of these insights as well. I've got my action buttons here. So this is an easy, quick way. If I want to start a sales quote, if I want to start a sales order, I just click on that. And I'm going to walk you through some of this as well, but I want to stay in the dashboard here for a second. Then down here, I have my activities, right? So here, let me walk you through this because this is pretty cool. So right now it's telling me for this month, I've got $240,000 to $241,000 of sales, right? So, okay, well, I'm the executive. I'm sitting in my living room watching television. I've got my tablet and I want to know what that $241,000 of sales, what does that really mean, right? So I click on the button. And as soon as I do, it's going to show me all of the invoices that are composed of that $241,000 at the highest level, right? So I'm going to go in here and say, okay, well, let's look at this one. This is $13,000. I kind of want to see what that's about. So let's go ahead and click on that button. And let's go right into it. So this is an invoice. This is the customer. Here's all the stuff that I sold to them. Let's take a look at this baby. Print, preview. Give me a second. And there it is. So this is my company. This is what I have. This is my invoice. And just so for the record, what I just did is I quickly went from my highest level, which is I looked at my total gross sales for the month, and it went down to my document level, and I saw my actual invoice. And I did that with what, 2 clicks? Very easy. And that was my point about easy navigation. And I also saw all of my invoices that made up the 241,000. So it just makes it easier for me to do, right? Right here, I have overdue sales invoices. So this is, excuse me, this is my receivable. So I got quite a bit of money out there that people owe me. Again, same process, right? I click on it. I take a look at all my invoices that are here. They're outstanding. Red means they're outstanding. They're overdue. I can simply, I'm the owner of the company or I'm one of the business managers. I'm on my iPad. I can click on that. I can go right to the invoice and I can just hit print, send via email, and it'll be attached to my email and go right to the customer. I happen to know this customer's a late payer, but I want to notify him that, hey, you owe me this money. Please go ahead and send it to me. And again, I can do that fairly easily with 2 or 3 clicks from the highest level all the way to the lowest level. So these are nice little activity queues that they have there that allow you to get some insight of the business on the dashboard. And same thing down here. I've got my ongoing sales, my ongoing purchase. Let me talk a little bit about that. Now, I do talk very fast, so please slow me down. And this is engaging. So as Jonathan said before, please ask questions. Questions are good. That actually helps me during the demo process. So right now I have 334 outstanding quotes out there. I can click on that and here's all my quotes, right? And I can go into a quote to see what's going on. There's statuses within the quotes, okay? There's also, I have 233 open sales orders. I have 14 invoices that are unposted. So all of these queues are giving me a lot of high level information about what's going on in my business, right? Now, this one is a pretty good one too. So let's say, for example, I have approvals set up. I have one of my managers that purchases something, or my procurement manager, right? I think we have procurement. They go out and purchase something, but that needs to be approved by the controller because it's a $10,000 purchase, let's say, for argument's sakes. I would on my screen say request for approval. There would be one here. I would click on it and I would have to approve that purchase. And that would automatically get back directed to the procurement manager. So the PO is now able to be processed. So this other concept of workflows, which is phenomenal too, all built in. You're getting a complete ERP, you're getting a complete product. So we can do workflows and approval processes in here as well. And that's where I would see that. Again, just some funny things in here. Average collection day, just some statistics and things like that that I can use. Incoming documents. So this is really nice too. So for example, if I have somebody who emails me some documents that are within Business Central, I will see that there. If I want to use this as a task manager and I want my people to assign tasks to me, I can do that here. Nice little graphic interface telling me who my top 5 customers are for the month and where they are. I can click on that and get detail. There's a Time Warner is a $529,000 customer. So again, nice interface. So one of the things as a businessman, I want to see what my balances are. So I just happen to pick these 5 accounts, but I can identify what those accounts are. I just happen to pick cash and operating, but you can just pick whatever accounts you want to see just at a high level on your dashboard and put it there. That's part of what I said, the business manager role. Now, if I was a sales order processor role, I may have something different here than my favorite accounts because I don't really care about GL from a sales order processor, right? Down here, I have, so if we do, and I don't think we're doing it here, if we have timesheets and we're using the time entry system within Business Central, I could see my open timesheets here, requests for approvals, things like that. Power BI is a great business intelligence tool, which extracts data. I can set up a bunch of different reports here. Again, part of my dashboard. Another nice thing here that I really like is my inbox. So I'm the kind of person who every Monday, I want the system to generate an AR aging report because I care about who owes me money and I want to see what my receivables are out there, right? So what I did here, and I'll show you how easy it was to do that, right? I created something called a queue, right? And inside the queue, I can create a queue. I create an aged queue. I can create a queue where I say, I want to run this report and happens to be my aged accounts receivable report. I'm going to do aged accounts payable for this one, but it's just for simplicity, aged accounts payable. I want to be able to run this every Mondays. I'm just going to say Mondays. Well, I'm demonstrating this just to show you how easy it is. You don't have to be a programmer or a developer or anything like this. And what this will do now, this will save it in the queue, and I'm going to change the status from on hold to set status to ready. So now it's ready to run. So what this is going to do, the system is going to run this report as a PDF, this aged accounts receivable, every Monday, right? It's going to start right away, and then it's going to sit in my dashboard. It'll sit right there like my age AR, and I have it set up so it emails me. So let's say I don't want to go into Business Central, right? I'm on the road, I'm doing whatever. Email is something I always see on my phone, on whatever. So I can set up certain reports within the system that automatically go to a job queue, that automatically go to my email, because that's something I need to see. So again, and you saw the way I set that up in 30 seconds or 3 seconds, very easy to do. That's one of the nice things about the dashboards.
So I have a question about this system. Is it live updates, or does it require batching at certain times during the day or overnight, or are the updates live as they occur?
Yeah, great question. Live. So in fact, that's a great question, and you diverted me to something. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this. Watch this. So I'm going to click on new, right? So I'm setting up a brand new customer, right? And as soon as you'll see a button up here. Wendy, do you see this button saved here? I'm just highlighting it.
Yeah, yes, I do.
Perfect. So as soon as I type, like I'm going to just type in here, well, let's pick on Ann. So Ann is my new customer, right? I can do that, right, Ann? So I'm going to put in Ann Diaz, right? And then I can go in. We're going to give her a credit limit of 10,000 because she can't buy anything more than that, or else we'll have to go after her, right? And as soon as I do that, you see it says saving saved. I don't know if you guys saw that. Automatically saves as I type. No batching, that stuff, you know, it just boom. And I can have multiple people creating customers like I am here. And it just saves it automatically. So hopefully that answers your question. I'll come back to the customer, but I wanted to demonstrate that because it was a good question. Let's go back to my dashboard. Okay, so again, I like the dashboard because of the ease of use and all the different things I can get to fairly quickly. Now, another function on this thing that's amazing is how many of you guys use Google, right? We all use Google to search. My kid calls it, it's a verb now, right? It's I Googled it, right? So this thing has an incredible search engine. If you click on this magnifying glass, and let's say I don't know how to get to something and I just want to get to it, right? So I can just go in there and put in something like, I showed you how I did the aged. I just typed in aged and watch what comes up. All of my responses to my query come up. I have aged accounts payable, receivable, sales taxes. And then on top of that, what comes up is documentation on things. So I can click on this and this will take me outside the application and onto the website. And on the website, it'll show me what that means. So that's pretty cool. This whole, I think most people use this search filter more than anything else because it allows you to go to wherever you want to go to versus the other side of that would have been is if I went to, let's say, finance and I went to fixed assets, I could go through it 20 different ways. I could have done fixed assets, or I could have just hit the search engine and just type in FIX and fixed assets comes up. And I would just go right to it, just like that.
And that's important for user adoption because this is a new system for everybody to have to learn. And to Devang's point, right, not everybody learns the same way. So just being able to have this global search tool will help everybody know, just find where they want to go easier. And that documentation is Microsoft produced and online, and so this is all the help documentation that you could ever want to find on how to do things within Business Central that you can find directly from within Business Central. So I just wanted to point out those two components. And then also with that search function, it looks on AppSource, which is Microsoft's app store for business applications. So you type in credit card if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
So it will actually bring back results for credit card solutions that are integrated with Business Central as part of your search function. So this is a pretty powerful tool, needless to say.
Yep.
Thank you, Devang.
Yep, absolutely.
So I'm going to call it your toolbar, but where it says customers, vendors, items, bank accounts, is that a set toolbar or can you modify things that you use all the time?
Absolutely. That's, again, great question. So let's say I want to go into sales orders. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on sales orders. Do you see this little bookmark over here that just popped up?
Yep.
I'm going to click on that bookmark. Okay. And it's going to give it a second. Beautiful. I'm going to get out of this. Guess what? Sales orders just popped up over there. It wasn't there before. So yes, answer your question. You can easily to customize. Now I'm going to walk you through now some of the personalization features as well as the filtering features, because filtering becomes very important when I'm looking for certain things. So I'm going to go right through filtering. So here's my chart of accounts, right? And right now I have a cash account called First Citizens. It's my bank account, right? Here's I've got about, that's not good, right? I have a negative $2 million balance. That can't be good. So I'm going to click on this little funnel here is my filter button. And this is also very phenomenal because this allows me to filter multiple pieces of data. So this is all of my ledger entries for this one account, this cash account. But I don't want to see all of that, right? I want to just see certain transactions within my GL. Very common for a controller, very common for an accountant. I just want to see last month's and I want to see document numbers this. So what I do is I click on this little funnel, filter. Okay, it's going to filter by GL account, which is my cash account, which is right. I also want to filter by, you know what? I want to filter by user ID because I think the person who posted this made a mistake and he makes a lot of mistakes. So let me just go in here and find that person. I'm going to type it in only because I know who the person is. So I think it's that. So now the system just filters by account number and that person. Now let's take this one more step further. I want to dimension code, and I haven't introduced that yet, but I will. Okay, that the division is corporate. So I'm going to click on this and I say I want to filter by division is corporate. Okay, beautiful. So now this is all of my GL entries with that account number, that person who posted it, and division code corporate. So I just took a tremendous amount of data and I got a subset of that data. Now let's take this one step further. Again, because I love accounting and I'm a CPA, I want to do all sorts of analytics on this. So where do I do analytics in Excel? Because I love Excel. That's much easier to use than the actual ERP. So with a lot of these screens, you have something called page up here. You click on page, you do open Excel, and watch how easy it is. It just opened up that Excel right there if you saw that. And I'm going to open this Excel up, and there it is. There, I'm going to enable editing. There's all the entries. Now I'm in Excel, and now I can start looking and saying, okay, well, you know, my account number cash was a little bit high. There's some entries that are misposted or whatever. Let's take a look in Excel. Let's do a pivot table, you know, whatever we want to do, right? Because now I'm in Excel and I can start doing analytics. So that's another pretty easy feature, and you're going to get that. These are what we call list views, where you see a list of all the transactions. You can do these filters, and then you can pop them into Excel, and you can play around in Excel. So that's another nice filtering feature, Excel, those kind of things. Now, let's just take the filters out.
Sorry, I got one more question. That Excel file that you exported, is that a manipulatable file where you can like change columns where they're set up and all that? Can you manipulate it?
You can manipulate the Excel file, and thank you, Wendy, for throwing me a softball. Because the next thing I'm going to show you is how I can bring it into Excel, and then from Excel, I'm going to go back into Business Central. That goes to my ecosystem and Jonathan's slide about Microsoft products. So I will show you that too. So yes, you can. And when you're in Excel, you can move around columns and do those kind of things. Okay, so back on this. The other thing I wanted to show you here, which is really cool about personalization, is this. So here's the columns that I'm in Business Central. But you know what? I don't really like the way these columns are. So I'm going to click on my little, I think it's called a gear, personalize. And I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say field. Okay, beautiful. Okay, so now I'm going to say I don't really want to see my description here. I want to see it over here. So I'm going to move it. I want to see my department code over here. So I'm going to move it. Oh, and by the way, I have something called a reason code. It's not on my screen, and that's important to me. So I'm going to grab it. I'm going to pop it right in. And there it is. And oh, by the way, I don't like to see this field over here because it means nothing to me. So I'm going to click on the little red button. And I'm going to say hide. And it goes away. This is user-based. I don't know if you saw that, but within like a minute, I'm able to customize my list screen so it looks like how I want it. There's going to be times where you guys are if you're procurement, you're going to be into a vendor list, or you're going to be into vendor ledger entries, and you're going to want to be able to switch and move and do things the way you want, so the screen looks just like the way you want it. And that's how you do that. And this is user-based, so whatever I changed is only going to affect me as my user login, nobody else, which is nice too. It's not a global setting. Okay. Again, I can put fields on that are not there. I can take fields off. I can move stuff around. It's all about how it's easier for me to look at and to feel, so look and feel things. So I'm going to say done. So it'll keep.
So when you make the changes in your view, is it saved that way for last time, or do you have to do it every time?
It's not. It's saved forever until you come back and change it again. So actually, I don't like reason code here, so I'm going to take it out because I'm not even using it. So let's take care of that. And done. So okay. So that's user personalization, that's filtering. We did the search. Let me show you the other thing that I think is really cool. Let's go to vendors. So, and I'm trying to highlight a lot of different screens so you get a sense of what we got going on here. Okay, so this is actually a perfect example, right? So this is my default vendors, all my vendors, right? These are people I pay. I definitely don't like the way this is laid out. So this is something I would definitely go to personalize. I'd probably get rid of location code, get rid of contact because it means nothing to me. And then I'd probably move the payments or balances over, and I could do that like I showed you before. But what I want to highlight here for you is this. Let's assume that right now all my vendors are set up as payment terms. Let's go to Adobe. Let's see, net 30, right? and I want to make a global change. I want to change net 30 for all my vendors to net 60 or net 90 or whatever it is, right? So now the question is, do I have to go to every single vendor and do that? Because that could take me hours of time. I don't want to do that. What I'd like to do is this. Click on page, edit in Excel. That's going to populate or open up an Excel spreadsheet with these vendors on here. I'm going to open that up. Enable my editing. Now what the system is doing here is it's authenticating. It's seeing that I'm Devang Mehta and I have rights and I can do all this stuff, and it's connecting directly with Business Central. Okay, so it's saying, hey, it's pulling all the data out of Business Central into the spreadsheet. It's authenticating. It's making sure that all of those things are there. Now, if I didn't have rights or I didn't have security, it wouldn't allow me to do this. Okay, and depending on how many records, like a common thing is if you have items, which you probably do, that you sell, you want to make a change globally. It's much easier to do it here in Excel than go to each single item and do it. So here's my vendor, and you'll see all of my list of my vendors show up, right? And I'll go here, and of course I'm going to have to find the field. I'm trying to find the payment terms, and I'll try to do a quick manual. Where did I put it? Here's the IRS code. So these are all the fields, and not all of them are required, but of course I missed it, which always happens because I go too quickly. There it is, payment terms code. Okay, so let's pick a payment. Let's do this one. So this is net 30, right? So I'm going to make this N00, okay? And we're going to go back and see who this is just so I get it. This is A Crane Rental, okay? Now assume I did that for a lot more than one, but I just want to demonstrate what it does here. Then I'll go back here and I'll say publish, processing, writing, publish successful. So what that did is it went back into Business Central for this A Crane Rental. Let's go back to Business Central. Let's go find our friend A Crane Rental. There's a couple of ways I can do that. I can just do search, type in Crane, and there they are. And you'll see that the payment terms for them, where they go, changed to N00. They were N30 before, right? So just take that concept to, I've got 1,000 records or 1,000 vendors or 1,000 items I got to change. Push it into Excel, make the change, boom, push your button, goes right back in, done. Easy speedy.
And
Yep,
Devin,
so
I just have a question. Sorry,
Sure.
Sorry, Wendy.
Sure.
No, fine, go.
Obviously you showed this in accounts payable, but every single module this is available. And
Single, yep, all the
Okay.
master of records. So all the master records. Now, one thing, Kelly, is obviously you can't change transactional data. So like if there's
sure.
postings, you can't change that. But like things like on the customer, this is the vendor. On the customer, you can change the payment terms. On the items, you can change the description, things like that. So yes.
On part numbers, we could change lead
Yes.
times, you know,
Yes.
stuff.
Great
Okay.
example. That's exactly right. Exactly right. I think, Wendy, you had a question.
I did. So we have a situation. So we have a supplier who has net 30 payment terms, but we happen to have one purchase order where we're going to be paying net 60 payment terms. We negotiated that. Do you have the possibility to do that for one-off types of things, or would we have to manually do that?
No. So the beauty is the payment terms are stored in the vendor. So for the payables, they're stored in the vendor card. And that's really just a suggestion. So when you do a purchase order or a purchase invoice from the vendor card, that payment term will default in. So let's say you did net 30 for Max Crane and rigging, right? So it'll come in as net 30, but then at the PO, you can change it from net 30 to net 60 or net 90 or whatever you want to do. So it's just a suggestion, because 99% of the time, your payment terms are with certain vendors and you want to keep that consistent throughout. For that one-off, when you're in the PO, you just change it from net 30 to net 60. That makes sense? Okay. So filtering vendors. The next thing I want to take you guys through is items. So let's go here. And see, I've got a bunch of different items of different things in here. Oh, actually, you know what? I wanted to show you because Jonathan had to show you pictures on that extension. I guess I got to show you that too. Do you remember how he showed you images on his little deck, on his deck slide? I think this is pretty cool. I don't often see this with most of my customers, which is funny, but I've always thought this to be cool. Like you can actually have a picture associated with the item. Where I see this a lot is when this is integrated with, right? Because the picture eventually gets to their e-commerce or the website. and they do that. So this, what you're looking at is just a list of all the items. In this particular case, I'm selling office furniture, right? So you can upload the items, the picture on the items too, which is nice. So let's actually go to an item card. Let's go to this guy. I guess cherry yellow. Not sure I would buy that, but it's okay, I guess. This is what we call the item master, right? So like every system has a item master card that is all the details of the intricacies of the item. So let's talk a little bit about that for a second. Okay, so item number, I see this multiple ways. Either it's an intelligent numbering series, which means you guys put your SKUs on there, specific part number on there, or we can have them auto-assigned by the by the company. Up to you. Description, pretty self-explanatory. Base unit of measure, is it in inches, pounds, millimeters, centimeters, whatever it is, it's fine. That's my unit of measure. It could be either an inventory, a service, or non-inventory item, right? A lot of times people have non-inventory items. They don't want to inventory, but they want to keep them in the system so they can track it in some fashion, right? So that's that. There's a lot of different ways we can categorize these items. There's something called categories. Like in this particular case, what do they have here? Again, I'm selling office furnitures, but I think you guys can get the general gist. This, and then even within this, you have something called attributes, right? So within the attributes, what you can do is you can say yellow, all the different, it's right here, of course. Right here, you'll see all the attributes: depth, width, height, material description, all that wonderful stuff. So for each item, you can have that if that's something, if you need the characteristics of an item.
So I have a question. These item cards are the items that we would actually be procuring?
Yes.
Okay. So is there a possibility to have an Excel spreadsheet that would upload the data, like pricing and part numbers and descriptions and all that? Does your system have the capability to do that?
Absolutely. So initially,
Okay.
during go live or right before go live, what we do is we'd give you a spreadsheet. It would say, here's the major fields we need you to populate. You'd put them in the spreadsheet. You give it back to us. We'd import them in, and voila, here's your list of all your items. Okay, so this is a picture view. Mostly I kind of look at it like this, right? This is typically how I see it. So
would we have that possibility to, like, if we introduce a new product line and we get the listing from the manufacturer, because that's what our item numbers mostly are, is the manufacturer's part number.
Sure.
Can we import that new listing of items?
We absolutely can. We just need to be cognizant of the format, because a lot of times they may have different fields. We just got to make sure that the fields are consistent with this, and we can work with you on that. That's one option. The other option is if we know your manufacturer's part numbers and the format that they give you, we can create something where we can just make an import for you based on that format and make it work for you. So either way, to answer both your questions, yes, that is what the system is really meant for. Is if you have 1,000 items and you want to populate them, you also want to populate the sales price and various other components of the item, you can do that as well. So, okay. So let me go back to one of these items, because there's a couple things I wanted to show you in the items. And I digress here. Okay, so up here is mainly the what the item is, the inventory, unit of measure I mentioned. What's nice here for each item is, in this particular item, I've got five on hand that I can sell, right? I've got 5 on a PO. I've got 0 on a production order, 0 on sale. So it just tells me high level what I've got going on with this item. So it tells me that. I don't think you have weight. If you do, we can certainly use that. Assembly orders, if we're doing that, I don't think we're doing that here, but that's kind of what's there as well.
So I'm sorry, just to ask real quick.
Please.
So if you have, say you've received items and it's allocated to a job, but it's not actually been shipped out to that job yet, does this show that information? Yeah,
we definitely have that. I can show you the jobs too, but so there's a couple different ways you can do that, right? When you get a PO, and I'll show you that, in that PO, there's a field called job number. Mm-hmm. Okay, in fact, I'll jump there right now. I'll just show you because it's a good question too. So watch what I do. I'm just going to purchase order. Jump in here. Still brand new purchase order. And I'll walk you through this because this was going to be the next thing I was going to do anyway.
Sorry.
No, you're good. This is what we want. I love when you guys ask me questions. If I have to just sit there for 40 minutes and just demo, it's kind of hard, Okay, so this is my purchase order. I'm going to get to your question, Mary Beth, in a second. But what I want to show you here in the PO is all of the fields that you have and all the dates you have, right? So like this is a general PO, document date, posting date, due date, order date. I mean, there's so many dates. And if you don't know what the field means, what I love about this is I just hover over the field, right? Like if I hover over this thing, this specifies when the related purchase invoice must be paid. This is specifies date when the order was created. Like it tells you what the field means. Like you don't need to, go outside the system, and it'll do that for you. So let's go down here to item, and let's buy a bicycle. Let's buy 2 bicycles. And what you'll have, actually, this is the wrong one. I don't have the job set up here. I have the job set up here. So my apologies. Let me go back. I want to show you specifically the jobs, our projects. So there's my purchase order, brand new purchase order. I'm going to create it. The number will come in automatically. I'll just throw it to absolute civil engineering. It doesn't matter. Again, the same concept with that. Okay. And in here, I have a job task and I should have a job number. Let me go find that and show you that. So I have that advanced job number. So in this case, these are all my jobs and my projects, right? So if I'm buying something, let's assume I put the item number in here, I can associate it with job number 295 for this company. And what that'll do is that'll take that item and put it as part of that job and reserve it as part of that job. So when I consume it, it'll keep all the cost for that particular job. I'm using the word job because that's what Business Central uses. Most customers of mine like to use projects because it makes more sense to them, which is fine. I'm using those words interchangeably.
Yeah, it's one and the same.
Yeah. Okay. So to answer your question, if you're doing it, whether you're doing a PO for a job or you're doing a PO just to buy stuff for multiple jobs, this is the screen you'd go to. You would go ahead and put the PO in the system. There's a lot of fields here, but some of them are self-explanatory, so I'll just work through it. This is a good one because a lot of times I'll have customers who have specific purchasers for that particular item, right? I don't think maybe everyone buys, I don't know, but you can have that too. A lot of the dates come in automatically, but you can put them in document date, due date. I put my item in here, right? So let me go backwards. In this particular case, what I'll do is I will buy the first thing I have on my list. But notice that I can go here and it's going to show me a list of all my inventory items that I can pick. And I can also just start typing. Like I don't have to go through the whole list. I can just type what I want and it'll automatically populate that. I want to receive this into my served parts because I have a served parts location. I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to buy 10 of these things. That'll come in. And so, I did miss this because I go fast. There's this concept of global dimensions. And I think from an accounting perspective, you're going to love this. Okay. So I'm going to backtrack and I apologize here because I'm all over the place. In this particular company, I have something called a division and a department. Okay. What that allows me to do is print my P&L by my different divisions. So this particular company has 1, 2, 3, 4, has 5 different divisions. Now you guys can have a division or you can have something called a product line. So this concept of global dimensions is phenomenal. It makes this system really different. So when you set up your chart of accounts, you have your different global dimensions. You can print the P&L by your global dimension. And a lot of times what I mean by that is global dimensions used easily as a cost center, a product line, a distribution center, depending on the organization and what they do. And now they can say, okay, I want to see my P&L by my distribution centers. I've got one in California, Oregon, Idaho, blah, blah, blah. And here's what I can see. So that's really a neat concept. And when we talk and walk through the process, we can go through what global dimensions are and how they work and how reporting would help you make it work. So in this particular example, I'm going to put this in corporate and I'm going to put my department in corporate. So they have 2 dimensions. So the first one is their different product lines and what they sell. The second one is more about, is it administrative? Is it sales? Is it corporate? It's like is it marketing? Whatever they want. So at the end of the month or at the end of the year, they can say, okay, for this particular division, here's all my revenue, here's all my expenses, here's what I made. So that's what those fields mean. Okay. And then down here, I think you had some questions upon shipping. So I can ship this. I'm actually receiving. This is a PO where I'm receiving material. I can have multiple ship tos. Like right now, I have our locations, right? So I can put the location in. I can ship the location in. It really just depends on what I want to do here. I think Wendy, you had the question before when Jonathan was showing the slideshow. But there's different ways you can do that as well.
Right, so it would auto-populate with what your standard shipping address is, or you can modify it, because we do
Right.
drop ships as well, where we ship material directly to customer sites.
Yeah, very common. In fact, I've got a drop ship button in here somewhere too. You could do that too. Hey, I just realized, guys, it's 2:50. I think, Jonathan, forgive me if I'm wrong. What's our timeline today? We're good?
Yeah, we'd only asked for an hour, so we technically only have 10 minutes. I don't know if the Immedia team has something right after this that, and Mary Beth and Kelly are shaking their heads yes. So the thing, you've got 10 minutes to try to cover as much as we can here.
Okay. So let me stop because guys, I can do this for like hours. I don't think you want to hear me for an hour. Kelly's laughing.
I could ask questions for hours.
Yes. Okay. We can do that.
I like to get in the weeds.
Good. You should, because this is an important decision that you guys are going to make, right?
Yeah.
Because once you get this, you're going to live it and you're going to want to like it, and it's got to work the way you want it. I can do more demos, but I think hopefully by now you get a general look and feel of what the product does. We can certainly continue this. Jonathan or Ann can set up another call. We could do this for another hour if you want to see more stuff on this product. But let's spend the next 8 minutes. Do you have any more questions?
Are you able to email purchase orders directly to suppliers from the system?
Yep. Send. You just have to set up, assuming you have Office 365 in SMTP, you just set it up to send, and it goes right to this, and it goes right to them as well. It'll go right, this PO would go right to your vendor, and they can approve it, and then, away you go. It actually starts from a purchase quote if you wanted to. I started from a purchase order. So a lot of times what I'll have is I'll have my customers send out 5 or 6 quotes. Then from the quote, they'll convert it to a purchase order based on whichever vendor they select. That makes sense.
Yeah, so. And is there also the possibility when you pull up a part number to see what we've paid for it previously?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that. So here's my item. Let's go to this one. So I can go into, let me look at the cost on this thing. It's 0.77 cents or 76 cents. And this, unfortunately, this was just entries, but you can look on that, click a button and see, all the purchases against that and how we calculated that value. So you can see all the vendors, if there's multiple vendors that you paid for that product.
So,
go ahead. Go ahead, Wendy.
No, go ahead.
No, mine kind of is a summation, so you go ahead.
Well, it's really important for us that we have some sort of an MRP system where when we load in a new project, that it's going to give us the details of all the part numbers we want to buy, the quantities, what the due dates are. And now it's going to spit out some sort of a Gantt chart or schedule or whatever that tells us we need to order these at this time because the lead time is this. Does your system have the capabilities to do that?
Yeah.
Devang, and if you don't mind, I just would like to answer that, Wendy.
Sure.
So we had another demo. Kelly was in this one. This was Field Point, Kelly, if you remember that. And so Field Point is where we would actually do the project management. We would create the jobs there. And it has a job material planning worksheet that you would use to determine what materials you needed on the job. That would then in turn, it integrates with Business Central, and it would create you would be able to generate the purchase orders right from there. It would still be the same functionality that Devang is showing you. It would still use the item master that is here in Business Central. It's just that there's this extra project management component that we have in a product called Field Point that was part of a different demo. And I'm not sure if you were in that one or not, but I just wanted to mention it.
And it's smart enough to know that if you're buying this particular part and you want 5, it's smart enough to know that we have 2 in inventory, so we would only have to buy 3.
Yes, so that worksheet in Field Point is directly connected to the Business Central inventory master system. So it knows what you have in stock. It knows what you're going to need on the job because you've put that information on the job when you set it up. So it's going to be able to tell you this is what you need to order, and then you can generate the purchase order from there.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a lot of interface from what I can tell, but it would mean going to a whole ERP section. If we're tied to Salesforce, does that capability still happen if we just did the Business Central at this time?
If we just did Business Central without Field Point, you mean?
Yeah.
If we just did Business Central, we would need to utilize some of the job costing functionality that is in Business Central, which is possible. We haven't gone into that yet because we felt like the requirements you had were a slightly better fit for the Field Point system in terms of field service management and project management. But Business Central does have a job costing module, and Devang showed you some of the job fields on the purchase order. So we could use that piece. If you were to just have Business Central, we would use that piece to be able to do your materials planning, your job budgeting, and we would be able to track all of the purchase orders to the jobs in the same, very much in the same way.
That's good to know, because like I said, we're kind of married to Salesforce for a while, but knowing that capabilities that we can work with it, but build towards this is, a thought to look at.
Sure. And I don't think that, Field Point and Business Central would necessarily replace Salesforce. The Salesforce could continue to be used as the CRM system, and then Field Point and Business Central would be your operational systems. Okay. Business Central more so on the accounting side, Field Point more so on the project operations side.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect. And then we could still use Salesforce for the CRM and the sales side of being able to forecast the sales and contribution margin and that type of thing.
Right.
Okay.
And also the D-Tools solution would stay in place as well for the engineering team, right? So Salesforce and D-Tools, in our opinion, would likely stay there unless you wanted to evaluate the dynamic CRM tools at some point in time. We can certainly do that as well.
I mean, for what we needed today, this gave us a good overview of the aesthetics of how to get the reporting out. I mean, because that's one of the biggest things we struggle with what we have at the point right now is getting the reporting out, and for what the liking of what we needed and the capabilities of doing some of the functions of job costs that we're just not able to do at this point. So this was enough to give me a good aesthetics of what we're looking at. So,
well, thank you for that feedback. As far as next steps, do you all have things in mind as far as after this conversation, what additional things you all need as part of your process?
Yes. So the three of us at Immedia are actually headed to a management retreat today to discuss the business budget and planning for 2021. So this gave us a base point on the software we're looking at. I will need an estimate of pricing. Again, I know we're just doing this demo right now, so to get the pricing by tomorrow would be a stretch, but soon I will need the pricing, and I can follow up then with the management team. But we have recorded this, so I need Matt Blair, our president, to watch this. And then as we kind of evaluate and discuss more of the budget for and software needs for Immedia, then I guess we'll kind of let you know, because we will need more demos for sure.
Yeah, we're going to get more in the weeds.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Wendy and I tend to, because that's where we live, so we tend to get into the weeds sometimes.
Perfect. Okay. Well, that sounds like a plan. So I'll give the recording to you all after it gets rendered, and I post it privately on YouTube, and we'll work on putting some estimate numbers together for you all to consider on your budget retreat, which sounds fun.
Yeah. According to Mary Beth, it's not. Wendy and I have not been a part of it yet, so.
I don't know why I call it retreat, because my head hurts by the time we're done, but at night we drink, so there you go. You relieve the pressure from that part. So.
I'm very scared, by the way.
It's not scary. There's a lot of thinking.
Yeah. So
anyway,
we appreciate the good luck.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate you all so much.
We appreciate your time as well. If there are other things that come up that you feel would be valuable, please don't hesitate to reach out. And then we've got some items that we'll follow up with you on as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
guys. Thanks for your time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.